companies and the creation of art and stories, whether they be games, movies, comic books, any of these things, they all tie together a lot. I mean, that's just how it works in the real world. If you want to make something, you usually need some kind of money or you need time. And in order to have time, you need some kind of money in order to be living. And so because of that, there's kind of a weird interconnected web when it comes to storytelling, media, and all these things. And there's also an interconnected web when it comes to the opinions of these companies, of these entities, and of the creators who make things. And something that I think is really odd that I've noticed pop up in recent years is almost a using fans as a human shield type thing that I think a lot of companies do and a lot of people feed into. And it's bizarre to me. It's something I wanted to talk about today because I feel like on one side, and I'm just talking about extremes here, you have people who will jump in front of any criticism of a company or a creator or a musical artist or a brand of any kind. Anything you say about these things that might be perceived as negative is an attack on that person. On the other hand, you have people that even when an entity, company, or creator does something good, they don't want to acknowledge those things because those entities, those people, they must all be nefarious. And I don't really like either of these groups. It's something I wanted to talk about today because it's just bizarre to me. I have a lot of examples that I want to look at, but also I just wanted to get your feedback on it overall. This is really just kind of an aimless talk in terms of I don't have a script or anything. I'm just kind of talking, but it is something I've wanted to address on the main channel for a while because I feel like both of these groups are really disingenuous. So if you have any feedback or opinions or you want to throw your own hat in the ring, I'm interested to read those things down in the comments. And speaking of getting your feedback, I did recently post a community post on my channel, which actually is over on the community tab when you go to the Degenerate J channel. If you are a fan of any of these things, like Metal Gear Solid, Hideo Kojima, any of those things, old Konami, I'm interested to get your feedback on something. I'm working on a video about Metal Gear Solid, which is detailed in that community post. So if you have any feedback or anything you'd like me to share in that video, you reaching out to me actually really helps me out. Hopping back into the topic of the video, I do want to get ahead of the elephant in the room, or the proverbial bullet that I think some people will try and throw out there, which is essentially I get one of two complaints on my channel. It's either that I complain about everything or that I like everything. I feel like a lot of the people who leave these complaints are people who don't actually watch the videos or who have the attention span of an ant, but I do want to actually address them because you can very easily find video after video on my channel criticizing creatives, criticizing companies and saying, I don't like these things, especially WB. They get a lot of it from me. But on the other hand, if you go look around on my channel, you can also find a lot of things like why I loved Thor Love and Thunder, believe it or not. I picked that because it's like the example movie that the internet hates that I actually really thought was fun. But I don't hate everything. There's a lot of things I really like. We probably have a 50-50 split of positive and negative on this channel. And that's something that I think a lot of people have in their real life. Yes, maybe you will have the takes such as what I had of, why does it feel like a lot of companies hate their fans? Or maybe you'll also have the take of, wow, I really appreciate that these creators are doing their best to make fans happy. Things like the Chip Zdarsky Batman run recently in the comics. Those things are things that I think deserve to be praised. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, is because I feel like there is a middle ground here where you can enjoy a lot of things that people make without having to enjoy everything. You don't have to like everything. I think anybody who does like everything, I don't understand it. I feel like at that point you have no standards, you don't really have a taste, you just like everything in the world, and maybe you're happier than me, that's great, but for me, I like to think about this stuff. I like to decide, well, why did I like this, why didn't I? What's my reasoning? What do I connect with in stories? What do I connect with in video games? Why is it that there is a massive population of people who love League of Legends and I don't like the game? What are my reasons for that thing? Not why do those people suck and I hate all of them, but why am I not a fan of that thing and what are my reasons? That's the kind of stuff I like to think about when I give negative videos. On the other hand, when I'm actually saying something is good or that I at the very least liked it. I'm looking at what did I connect with in these? What were the human elements of this project that resounded with me, deep in my soul? Or what actually was in this that I thought was even salvageable? There's a lot of movies that I watch that I know are not great movies objectively in terms of their writing. I mean, I do have a writing degree. I went to college 4 years to teach English classes, to teach writing classes, things like that. It doesn't mean I'm way smarter than you. You might be in high school and be far more brilliant of a writer or an interpreter of writing and media than I am, but it does mean that I know the basics of these things. So when I look at them, I say, well, where was the humanity? What was the plot structure of this thing? Where was it leading? Was there foreshadowing? Was there actual thought put into this? Okay, well, now there's people like directors and writers coming out and giving interviews and talking about it. What was their insight? And I like to combine all these different schools of thought. I like to combine reader response, where it's your interpretation as a reader or as a viewer or as a video game player. I like to combine the author intent with that. What did the author intend? Is the author open to different interpretations? Are they not? Does that matter? These are all things I think about when I talk about if I liked or didn't like something. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's just about human characterization. There's always going to be biases. There's always going to be things like, one time I met a person who was a total dick who acted just like this character. And to be completely honest, that's one of the reasons I don't like the character. It's also understanding your human biases when you talk about something. And when I try and talk about these things, I try and take those things into account. And also I try to take into account, am I just out of touch? Here's an example of me being out of touch at the ripe old age of 28 on the internet. I know the Gen Zers are already pushing me off the channel into the old folks home and then into the furnace scene in Toy Story. But I do have a little bit of kick left in me. An example of me being out of touch is Spider-Punk. I'm going to be honest with you. In most interpretations of this character, I don't really connect with him. I'm not a super young, angry dude who is rebel against the system, fight the machine, that kind of thing. I get mad at it. I have a lot of criticisms of it. But at the end of the day, it's just not really completely how I think. I've never really been a part of the punk scene. And until I actually criticized this version of the character and his suit in, I believe, my 5 worst Marvel Spider-Man suits, and talked about how overly edgy I thought it was, I didn't really even know this scene was still a huge thing. It wasn't really a thing on my radar. It wasn't something I knew people really respected and had a lot of emotional connection to. But now that I've seen an interpretation of that character that resounded with me in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I understand why people like this character. This is just one example of a take that I've had that I think is maybe a little out of touch. Now, at the end of the day, Spider-Punk does not necessarily need to be for me, but some of the things that I thought were stupid about this character and his existence are things that I didn't fully understand. Is the character really my cup of tea, usually? Not really, to be completely honest with you. But now that I understand the character more, I don't actually think he's bad. I just think I didn't really get it. It might still not be for me, but at the time I didn't get it. Now I'm just at the point where a lot of this interpretations of this character, I just don't like that much. It's not that I think they're bad, it doesn't connect with me. And I think those are things that you have to take into account too. Is what I'm complaining about that I think is bad actually bad? And maybe someone else will say, no, it's not, and I will still think it is. I will still have logical reasoning or feelings that I can justify and explain that make me feel that way. And I think that as long as you have that back and forth discussion, as long as it's not devolving into, here's why you should exit the planet, I think that those kinds of discussions are good for the most part. They're harmless. They're things that lead us to think and talk and connect with people. And the same thing happens with criticism and praise of these companies. I can look at things and say, this wasn't for me, but I think it was good. And a good example of that is the Lord of the Rings movies. I'm going to have to go back to these movies soon, but these are movies that every time I watch, I can tell they are great movies. But for some reason, I just don't get super interested in them. I don't really know why it is. I want to be. I've read some of Tolkien's stuff. I read The Hobbit and I thought it was really fun. I've played some of the video games based off of his work and I thought they were great, like Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, which I know are very different from his writing. But when it comes to the movies from, Peter Jackson, I watch it and I'm like, I can tell this is great. I don't know why I'm not enjoying it. And that's okay too. That's an okay take to have. There's other movies that I think are good that other people don't, and there's other movies I think are bad that people love. Some people loved Brightburn. That movie is still the bane of my existence. I hate that thing. I think it's terrible. It's not just not for me. I genuinely believe it is an awful movie. But it's okay if you don't. Doesn't bother me. That's what's so weird to me about all this stuff is I will talk about something like Rockstar. I will talk about their games, and I will talk about things I like. I'll talk about how, hey, I really like player movement in these games. I think the aesthetics are really fun. I really like the mini games. I really like the world and the humor. But I don't like Rockstar pushing microtransactions. I don't like them ignoring their single player and never adding on to it anymore like they used to. And there will be people who want to jump in front of a train for this company. They will want to absorb every single piece of criticism lobbied at this company. And it reminds me a lot of a White Knight. Like, have you ever, I'm sure you've been to school and you've seen this kind of thing, no matter what country you're from and how old you are, where there will be some girl who does just some douchey thing. Doesn't matter what it is, not important, but just does something douchey, something real mean. And someone will criticize her, and then there will be a guy who's very clearly interested in her who will jump in front of that criticism and White Knight for her and protect her, even if it's valid criticism. It's something that's usually made fun of because it's stupid. You can absolutely defend people and things when it's needed and when it's valid, but at the end of the day, if you're just shilling, if you're just doing it for no reason, or even worse, to try and get something out of it like these dudes do, it looks bad and it kind of makes you into a joke. And it's something weird I've seen a lot of times on my videos in the comments. These comments don't make me mad, I just find them weird. So when you talk about something like Rockstar, you will get all these people jumping in front of the criticism, almost like they think Rockstar is some girl that will be interested in them if they defend it. But Rockstar doesn't even know who they are. They're just a nobody. They're just some random person on the internet. And I don't really know what the point of that is. I've also seen it too with things like Ubisoft on the other side of this issue. I've seen people say, well, Jay, you criticize Ubisoft, you criticize some of their business decisions, and you don't like some of the executive choices, so you shouldn't be playing any of their games. You should never enjoy or play an Assassin's Creed. And to me, it's like, why? If I like these things, I want them to get better. One of the reasons I talk is to entertain, whether my opinion ever changes anything or not. Maybe it will distract you from some BS in your life for 20 minutes. It's the whole point of my Let's Play channel, which is in the description, might I add, Degenerate Plays, where we play through games just to have fun, to talk. We're not always right, but we're there to hang out. And so when I talk, it's to do things like that, to entertain, to maybe make someone smile or make someone think, whether they agree with me or not. It's not really to crap the bed or shit on anyone. It's really just to share my opinion. And so when I see people say, well, you shouldn't like any of the things then from this company, to me it's a weird extremism. When I talk about something, a lot of times it's because I want it to get better. Now, there are certainly things I've given up on, like Peter Parker's Spider-Man comics, where I just talk about them at this point to mock the stupidity of some of the decisions. But for the most part, when I talk negatively about something, it's because I was either really excited for it and wanted it to be better than it was, or because it's something from a continuing brand that I hope if enough people share my opinion, or a similar opinion at least, it gets someone thinking. People see, oh, this is not a popular decision we made. Maybe we should be changing course here. I've seen this same kind of thing with Insomniac too, where anytime you present any kind of criticism about Marvel's Spider-Man or Miles Morales for, Insomniac for PlayStation, people get mad. And to me, that's really weird. I'm going to give you some examples of some of my favorite things in the world. Blade Runner 2049, the original 2 Alien movies. A lot of these are Ridley Scott, I guess, connected, which is weird, I just thought of. Sailor Moon, an anime, one of my favorite shows in the world. Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood. Love it. I even enjoyed the DCEU for what it was, okay? I like Spider-Man No Way Home. Love that movie to death. Some of my favorite games are Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Fallout New Vegas. Now, what do all these things have in common other than me liking them? I don't care if you criticize them. I don't care at all. It does not matter to me. Now, you can criticize them, I can vehemently disagree with you on it, but at the end of the day, why does it matter? Not because you don't matter, not because your opinion doesn't matter, but because I know what I think about those things and I enjoy them. I recently got back from seeing Transformers Rise of the Beasts very late, and I loved the movie, and I shared that opinion on Twitter, and some people didn't like it. I don't care. That's fine. You're free to dislike things I like. It does not bother me at all. It bothers me when criticism is like disingenuous, like somebody didn't watch something or play something or read something, and they're just like that stupid to try and annoy you. But that doesn't even make me mad. It just bothers me because I feel like that person is missing out. And at the end of the day, maybe it's a little narcissistic, but a lot of times when I like something and I have good reasons for liking it, and someone's just complaining about it, I just feel like they're missing out. Maybe they didn't connect to it the same way I did. Makes me a little sad because I know how much I like it, and I move on. I don't get the anger behind this stuff. At the end of the day, if you don't have my opinion, that's cool. I don't care. That's how it is. Doesn't matter to me. I mean, like, the opinions I hold really close and important to me are maybe my friends and family, and even then sometimes I think they have stupid takes. That's fine. Not a big deal. And at the end of the day, if you criticize a company that makes games or movies or anything that I like, maybe they deserve it. Or maybe they don't. Maybe it's not a valid criticism. I don't work there. I don't care. Don't harass people. Don't go after people for weird personal things. And other than that, have at it, and that's fine. I've even gotten tons of criticism on my own videos, and honestly, I usually don't really care that much. I care if it's like a really personal, weird shot, and I'm having a bad day, and maybe it gets under my skin. That kind of thing happens all the time, I guess, with, content creators and people on the internet. But other than that, people are free to dislike things. And that's okay. When you read weird negative intent into things and you push that off on people, I can understand them getting mad. But otherwise, it shouldn't really matter. You should be able to talk about the things you like and the things you don't like. And at the end of the day, if the company or the creator or whoever doesn't want to listen, or maybe everybody else likes it except for you and 5 other people, then that's cool. Maybe the thing's not for you. Or at the end of the day, maybe you have a great opinion and you're the only one who thought of it out of billions of people, and that's possible too, and was able to convey it well. And that's okay too. You don't even have to have numbers on your side. It's just okay to disagree. It's okay to have different opinions, but those things should be justified and thought out, and I don't really think they should devolve to these weird personal levels. It doesn't really make any sense to me, and it's something I've never really understood so much emotion being tied up in. I have a lot of things I think about and worry about in my life, and the opinions of strangers usually are not one of those things. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm interested to hear your thoughts down there. Please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. It's really just kind of a rant of something I wanted to talk about because I don't understand it, and maybe someone can explain it to me. I feel like, and it's hard to talk about, I do feel like certain things people defend because it's a big part of their personality, so they take criticisms as just an attack on them. But unless you're the one making those things, I really don't think it is. Blade Runner's a movie that really changed my thought process and changed a lot of things about how I think about life. But at the end of the day, someone could hate it, think it's the worst movie ever made, and I'd just think, oh, well, that's a shame. I think it's great. I feel like you're missing out on that. And that's all it is. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this, because maybe you will have something that makes me think about this or gives me a little insight into why people think this way, because it's always been very foreign to me. So anyway, I hope you all have a fantastic day. If you want to help support us, we do have channel memberships now on this channel where you can get access to exclusive videos. We also do have a Patreon with the same thing. My wife Jill runs a business, enchantedglamour.com, which is in the description, where she sells all kinds of great stuff, including comic book resin coasters from repurposed comic books and handmade jewelry. And finally, Degenerate Plays is our channel where we play through games together, which I've already mentioned. So I'll see you all in the next one. Have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shui.